Yachts for Sale and Charter YouTube channel here this evening in Monaco time with Patrick Coote, the Managing Director of Northrop & Johnson in Europe. As always with these live streams, I really appreciate any feedback from you. If you can just let me know that you can hear us okay, because the worst possible scenario is that we talk to each other and nobody can hear a word that we're saying. So Patrick, first of all, thanks for your time.
Pleasure. Delighted to be here.
We're particularly interested in talking to you about a really just one moment to everybody.
From your laptop camera now.
I'll move it then. Okay. For some reason, little problem with the camera. Somebody says audio is perfect. That's the most important thing. Audio is perfect. Coming through soft and clear, says Penelope. Thanks for joining us, Penelope. Now, we particularly want to talk about an event that's going to happen soon. But before we do that, to give some context, can you let me know a little bit about your background in yachting?
Yeah, gosh, where do I start? I have to go back to the London Boat Show, probably 1980, where my mother took me along, showed me all the boats. It was just a family day out, no boating history, no connection to the sea. And I just saw these amazing boats, shiny, big white boats. And I thought that looks like a great place to work, a great industry to be in. And that really set me on the path to being in the super yacht industry pretty much my whole career. I mean, I've moved around between predominantly in marketing, but I've done stuff with boat shows, with the media, with Boat International, in brokerage, in building, in yacht design, yacht management. So I've been all around the industry in different guises and different companies. But certainly super yachting has been the theme throughout all of it.
Yeah. Just for the benefit of the viewers, because a lot of viewers say, yeah, but how did you get into yachting? What did you actually do on a practical level to convert your passion for yachts and your interest in it to actually getting a job in the industry?
Well, I really wanted to be a yacht designer. I had a bit of a creative spirit when I was younger, but I realized that to be a yacht designer, you really have to be a naval architect. And to be a naval architect, you have to do a naval architecture degree, and that requires maths and physics A-level. And so when I was coming to choose my A-level, it was right back then I realized that I can't be a yacht designer because I'm never going to get maths and physics A-level. So I decided to go into marketing through a different way into the industry. So I then changed all my studies to be marketing related and European business related, with a view to eventually arriving pretty much here in south of France. And then the old classic of writing to 100 companies and begging for a position. I think I wrote to every brokerage company out there for an internship when I was at university. And that was my way in.
We get a lot of those emails now. So you must, when you read those emails from young people who want an internship, you must have a particular connection with people who want to do that, I guess.
Yeah, well, when you see any young person with drive and ambition and the wherewithal and proactivity to actually send letters out and follow them up and, take time and effort, you want to try and help.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you can't help everyone, but certainly they do catch your eye when they land on your desk. Yeah.
So what was your first position in yachting? What were you doing?
My first ever position, gosh, where do I start? I worked for the Thames Electric Launch Company when I was about 16. It was a summer job from school. They used to build slipper launches with electric motors, and we lived on the Thames by the river. And they built them in a sort of Victorian boathouse next to our garden. And the owner said, would you take a slipper launch and just go up and down the Thames all summer, stopping off at the pubs, inviting people on to come and have a tour up and down the Thames, and hopefully they'll fall in love with our boats, and then go from there.
I didn't know
that was my job. That was my job. But then probably the first proper job was with Medsail Yacht Brokers in Antibes, a small brokerage company. It doesn't exist anymore actually, but it was in the Galerie du Port in Antibes, and there I worked for about 5 or 6 months. They did sales and charter of yachts up to about 100 feet. And it's there that I wrote my university dissertation on the effects of EU legislation and taxation on the super yacht charter market in the Mediterranean.
Really?
Exciting stuff. If you ever want to have trouble sleeping, I'll give you a copy.
So from there, what was the next step?
From there, I went to national boat shows, which was a division of the Marine Industries Federation in the UK, which is like it's the industry body that looks after all the marine companies. And they owned national boat shows, which ran Southampton, at the time Nottingham Inland Show, and the Coote boat show. And I worked in the marketing team there for the boat shows and for the industry association.
Right. In fact, I've always associated you especially with marketing. You've for those that don't know, Patrick's got an amazing reputation in the industry as, without a doubt, one of the best marketeers in yachting. So is that where the whole marketing thing started, with the boat shows?
Yes, I think. Well, it's very kind of you to say so, firstly. But I think marketing to me was, it's a creative side of business. I mean, there's an argument that all parts of business you need to be creative. But knowing that I couldn't fulfill my ambitions to design yachts and style yachts, I figured, well, there must be other ways to still be creative, but be in the industry that I want to be in. And so combining the passions of creativity and business for me was a natural fit by going into marketing in yachting.
And you also had a spell for a very large German yacht builder.
Indeed.
How did that happen?
How did it happen? I'd been 7 years with the Azimuth Benetti Group, partly working on some group business and partly with Fraser Yachts. And I was kind of feeling like the challenge had gone away a little bit because the company was in good shape, and it became more of a maintenance role than a real challenge to me. And it was at that time that it was just a German headhunting firm said, would you like to talk to us about being the managing director for Blom & Voss, based in Monaco, with responsibility for all the sales and marketing.
Wow.
So, I mean, I grew up as a child with pictures on my wall of Palladium and
Lady Mora.
Exactly, yeah, in the early 90s. So the idea of going to the shipyard that had produced those beautiful boats was a dream.
Yeah.
And it proved to be an amazing learning curve, a super interesting time. We all, those of us who work in yachting, we only ever see it through one lens. We're crew, or we're a designer, or we're a broker, and we think we know a lot, but we really don't until we step into someone else's shoes. Until you've been in a design office or an engineering office or a procurement office or a construction site, you never really have a true understanding of what goes on and why it happens. So my time really in the heart of a yacht builder was amazingly interesting.
Now, from there, you joined us, Northrop & Johnson, and Patrick's been responsible for really helping the company get organized, grow. Since you've arrived, the team is so much bigger and so much focus and so much great stuff going on. It'd be very easy for you to just spend all of your time doing that, but instead you've taken on this amazing challenge. So what can you tell me about that? Well,
it's a classic midlife crisis, I think. So I'm turning 50 next month. And
congratulations.
Thank you. Do you remember 50? It's a long time ago.
I was going to say welcome to the club.
So I had the choice of, buying a Harley or getting a girlfriend, and neither. I'm too young for a Harley, and I have a lovely wife, so I don't need any girlfriends. So I thought, well, how about a physical challenge? In the past, I've done, marathons and climbed a few mountains. Not that I'm any Bear Grylls at all, but they've always been challenges that are immensely rewarding, exhilarating, memorable. When I look back, running a marathon, whilst millions of people have done it, it's a big thing. I remember I burst into tears when I crossed the finish line of the London Marathon. It drains you, it exhausts you, and that gives you a rush of a sense of achievement and a rush of endorphins. And I thought, well, let's find something where I'm going to get that again.
And where did you find that?
So before I met my lovely wife, I intended to row the Atlantic.
Really?
Yeah. And I'd registered the domain name, Monaco Ocean Rowing Expeditions. And then I met my wife and we had our daughter, and the whole thing fell off the table. And it was always in the back of my mind. So I thought, well, I'd love to do a big ocean row, but the Atlantic was probably a bit too much of a commitment time-wise.
Also 50 years old.
50, yes. Well, people do it in their 70s and 80s. I mean, but yeah, I thought I'd bite off something a bit more bite size. So I found a company called Rannoch Adventures, Rannoch Expeditions.
Like Loch Rannoch.
Indeed. And they specialize in preparing for and managing expeditions, all ocean rowing expeditions, be they transatlantic, transoceanic, or in this case, slightly more manageable, which is a complete circumnavigation of Scotland via the Caledonian Canal. So it's not the Indian Ocean, but it's still going to be quite a challenge. 600 kilometers, 400 nautical miles.
Wow.
Over 12 days, rowing 3 hours on, 3 hours off in a rowing boat in northern Scotland.
Wow. Well known for its calm, flat waters, sandy beaches, if anything goes wrong.
Well, Scotland in summertime can be beautiful. And I've heard from other people that the marine mammals, the wildlife is absolutely stunning and beautiful. But the forecast is not great. The next 10-day forecast for northern Scotland is basically rain and storms. So we'll see. Hopefully I'll be here to tell you the tale when I get back.
Well, I hope so.
If I get back.
I hope so. I'm just checking the questions in case we've got any questions coming in. And by the way, please do bring on any questions that you have for Patrick, either about the rowing event or about the yachting industry in general. Penelope says, how about a girlfriend on a glorious white short tail, a true lady's bike? Oh, do you know the white short tail?
No, I'm not familiar with that.
Me neither. Colin Chafers, who's a very regular viewer of the channel. Hi, Colin. Thanks for joining us. Very good insight into Patrick. How does he see the challenge of the industry with the new world order and up and downs?
Cool. Well, I'm a yacht broker, not a fortune teller, but things are definitely changing. Let's face it, and it's not just a new world order. It's changing on many levels, both technologically, environmentally. The profile of our buyers is changing in age and nationality. I mean, I think Colin's alluding to the Russian situation. About 10 to 15% of our large yacht market over 24 meters has traditionally been and is currently with Russian clients. Thankfully, Northrop & Johnson, having had a real stronghold over many decades in the US, doesn't have a large proportion of clients in Russia. We do have them. I feel I have to say we can't tar everyone with the same brush. It's not suddenly that all Russians are bad people. There are some very good Russian owners we've worked with for a long time who have been very loyal clients, and it's a great shame that we cannot now work with them. There are very strict what we call KYC regulations, know your client, and AML regulations and anti-money laundering. And there are sanctions now brought in where we simply cannot, whether we want to or not, we cannot lawfully work with people who are resident in Russia with Russian passports. Yeah. So it will change things. We've seen some large yachts coming on the market as a result of the troubles. we're unable to charter the yachts of Russian owners. We're unable to receive funds from charterers who are Russian, who wish it. So it's having an impact. There's such strong demand still in the market that it's not like we're really missing that.
Yeah.
The market's sort of 20% up.
Yeah.
So you rein back the 10 or 15% that was Russian, and it's still all bumbling along fine, because there is strong latent demand in the sort of post-COVID era. And on the charter side, we saw postponements from 2020 to 2021, postponements again from 2021 to 2022. So there's a huge demand on the inventory that is there in the charter market too. So Russia is not currently, well, there are some companies, I should mention, there are some companies that have a huge amount of Russian clients, and they are really in trouble.
Yeah, because of course the Russian client has a very particular, I'm generalizing, but have a very particular culture, very particular way of doing things. I remember when I was doing more brokerage, I found it very difficult to deal with Russian clients because often they didn't speak English. You'd have to have several people in between in the link. It made it very difficult. So some brokerage have honed in on the Russian market and did a very good job, I think, of serving the Russian market.
Yeah.
But those brokerage companies now are really in dire. I mean, they have a big challenge ahead of them there. They have to completely reshape what they're doing.
Yeah, there are definitely differences, and strong differences, and marked differences between Russian owners, Middle Eastern owners, American owners, European owners, and what they're looking for. In fact, the style of yachting that Russians, and I speak very generally, that Russians like and have enjoyed historically is, I think, on the way out. Many Russian-owned yachts have been a symbol of status, a symbol of wealth. There is a level of ostentation to them by design, because it's a statement.
Yeah.
And that really is at odds with the new millennials we see coming through, particularly from the US, where it's much more about barefoot luxury.
Yeah.
They have no interest in gold taps or chandeliers or anything close to it. They want to relax. It's much more experiential. So that's really where the really exciting end of the market is now, is in those new buyers coming from Europe predominantly and America.
Yeah. And also along with that, of course, the kind of yachts that are being built reflects the market demand. There's a lot more demand for explorer yachts, long range, more rugged yachts, and not the ostentatious look. We have quite a few more comments coming in. T. Prey says, "Good afternoon, gents. My name is Thomas. Hi, Thomas. Thanks for joining us. Tuning in from the Leeward Islands. I'm a German S&P/new broker, commercial shipping, with 20 years track record. I'd like to get in touch with you after the live feed. Do feel free. You can get in touch with me from the YouTube channel. My email address is there, so please do get in touch. Be very happy to talk to you." Tim Evers says, "What keeps you decades in yachting? What made you almost quit? I guess it's not always smooth seas." Did you say that you almost quit?
No.
I didn't think that you did.
No, I've never considered quitting. I mean, at the risk of sounding conceited, I have to pinch myself every day. And I know it's a cliche, but I really do wake up thinking I'm super lucky. I live in paradise. And I don't mean because I'm in Monaco. I mean because I have electricity in the we're not living in a war zone. We're not dying of famine. We've got no disease or hunger. I mean, we have a very, very nice life. And if you put on top of that, working in an amazing industry, which is all about having fun and traveling to the most amazing places on the planet, how could I ever want to leave that? I mean, it's kind of why I wanted to go into it in the first place.
Yeah.
I could see that was an industry where people were having fun, and it was designed for people to have fun. I did actually step out of the industry at one point, just because I was given a business opportunity which I couldn't really pass up. But even that was in the sphere of health and fitness and leisure activities. So I love being around and facilitating people having a great time.
Yeah.
That's all we're really here to do. You know, people view yachting as many different things. They've got a lot of positive and negative comments about the ownership of large yachts, but ultimately a yacht is just somewhere for a human and his family to go and relax in privacy, have some fun, and spend time with the kids. I mean, that's what a yacht is, and being able to help people achieve that is great.
Yeah, it's a great satisfaction. Penelope has an interesting question. She says, I do love the Explorer yachts, but the pure glamour of other styles is breathtaking. What was Patrick's first experience with a super yacht actually going on board? Do you remember the first super yacht that you went on board?
Gosh, the first super yacht probably wasn't really what you'd call a super yacht, because I probably started off on a 60-footer and then going on to a 70-footer, and then you gradually get onto a 20-meter or a 30-meter, and so you build up. I mean, there have been some truly memorable moments. I think probably the greatest impression, or what was most what impressed upon me the most, the right phrase, was when I was about 16 and a friend's father bought a 75-foot Sunseeker. I think it was a Predator, maybe 65 or Predator 65. Yeah. And for me, who was from financially a perfectly normal, if not humble background, seeing something that was worth millions was just blew my mind. And then I started coming down to Saint-Tropez a few summers during my sort of teenage years, and then I started for the first time actually going on board some of the larger yachts.
Yeah.
And I definitely remember the first time I went on Tatouche.
Oh wow! Yeah.
Which was, I mean, she's a huge yacht. Yeah. Anyway,
100 meters plus.
She's 100. Yeah. She's 90. I forget now.
Oh, 100.
96, 97.
100 less than 100 minus.
Roughly 100. You know, but when you go on these boats, Tatouche, or you go on Leander, Octopus, you know, it's still to this day breathtaking. Yeah. Even though we go on these large yachts every day, day in, day out, some yachts you step off and you go, oh my goodness, that was just incredible. Yeah. And I think I was so fortunate to go and work at Blom & Voss for a few years, because you know, when you go on Palladium, which I believe is probably one of the best yachts ever built, and I don't think we'll ever see another yacht built like that. It's just mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing. The quality, the attention to detail, the level of engineering, the level of thought, the finish, it's just breathtaking.
Yeah. We've got lots more questions coming in. Lamar B. If a shipyard has to stop, by the way, I always take a risk. I just read these out loud. It could say anything, but I'm sure, Lamar B, I trust you. If a shipyard has to stop building, what a great question, due to sanctions, can that shipyard break the existing contract and sell the build slot to somebody else, or are they stuck with a build that they just can't complete?
It's a very good question, to which there is no easy answer. You know, we found ourselves at the start of this year, in February, in totally unknown territory. You have yachts in build, as he asks, with Russian owners behind them. But at the time, there were no specific sanctions necessarily on those individuals. Those build contracts are not actually placed by individuals, they're placed through companies. And it's not always clear who is the ultimate beneficial owner of that company. You had yachts that were in a situation where a client had his assets frozen. Sometimes they were seized. Sometimes they were under investigation. They all come with a complex set of rules as to what you can or can't do. And I mean, at the time and for the last few months, I've thought, thank goodness I'm not a
Yeah.
shipbuilder or a lawyer who's got to unpick, what happens if the build stops, who's liable for the crew who are now on board, their costs, who's going to cover the insurance if the insurance company now can't cover that client, if the yacht build stops, and there are suppliers who need to be paid, or there are subcontractors lined up to come in and undertake certain jobs. How does that get impacted?
It's occupying space in the shipyard
Absolutely.
that you now can't use in a profitable way.
It's a minefield of legal complexities, and there's no simple answer to the question, I'm afraid, because each case is different. And my heart goes out to the shipyards who are really having to deal with these issues now.
Yeah, absolutely challenging. Thanks for the question, Lamar. That was a great question. T. Prey, thanks for acknowledging my request, David. Very interesting formats. Gives me great inspiration. That's nice to hear. Thanks, Thomas. Gabriel Ungerson, do you guys own a yacht? No, I don't. Have you ever owned a yacht or a boat?
No, nothing that you could call a yacht. No. I have owned a boat, but a very modest size. I'm a believer that you should only ever own a boat where the costs of ownership are fairly negligible in the grand scheme of your own wealth. And so in the grand scheme of my personal wealth, it was a very small boat.
Actually, on that subject, I was on the bus yesterday in Monaco, and there were some tourists off of a cruise liner, and it reminded me that if you've never been in this industry, it's really difficult to fathom what the costs of the yachts are, because there was an American guy and his girlfriend, and we were passing by a yacht, and he went, "That's got to be $1 million. It has to be $1 million." It was L&S, the Aberking Rasmussen, which is close to 100 million, of course. Yeah. But it's easy for us because we're in the industry. We know. Somebody not in the industry, of course, it's difficult to fathom what the prices are. But yes, no, I'm not in the yacht buying section of wealth for sure.
One thing, I was having a conversation with a yacht owner yesterday over lunch, and I was saying something that I really have found to be true over the years, which is that yacht owners, whilst special by definition, their level of wealth alone makes them very special people. There are many aspects on which are just like you or me or the man in the street. And their desire to own the yacht, as we were saying before, is not about a big ostentatious display of wealth. It's about just having somewhere accessible for a few weeks a year to go and have some fun with the family. Now, you or I might go and buy a 20-foot speedboat and do exactly the same. And that's in direct proportion to the money we have in the bank. We've spent, let's say, 5% of our total net worth on a small speedboat. They've spent 5% of their total net worth on a $100 million super yacht. They think of it in the same way. They use it in the same way. It's just a different level.
Absolutely. Loads more questions. We've got Leonardo Rossi Poledri. Hi, Leonardo. Hope you're well. Leonardo has been a long time viewer of the channel as well. What type of super yachts do you think might be the most successful one for charter in the Med? A Navetta, crossover, explorer style, or fast planing? So if you're going to advise Leonardo who wants to buy yachts, put it on the charter market, what do you think?
I don't think it would be a fast planing hull for a start. There is a gradual decline in interest in that style of boat for many reasons. Cost of ownership, cost of fuel. I mean, look at the fuel prices right now. These affect yacht owners as much as us filling up our cars. And there's the environmental negative impact, which people are starting to think more and more about. In terms of I'm not going to name a particular brand, but in terms of a style, the way people use boats is really changing. And you talked to, or one of your viewers mentioned it before, the idea of a formal yacht with a formal dining room and a chandelier and an enclosed space and all air conditioned is completely going out of the windows, as you well know. People want to have a much closer relationship with the water, with the elements. They want to be down by the ocean. So yachts that have a wide open aft deck, sides that fold down, big beach clubs that really take you down by the water, lots of glass, lots of opening glass, so you can really feel the breeze and feel like you're actually on an ocean rather than in a museum. That's the style of boat I would strongly recommend people look at. Let's name it. There are several like that. The Bonetti Oasis, I'm thinking in particular, aims to increase that connectivity with the water, which is why it's proving to be a very popular model. People just want to feel that they're actually at sea, smell it, taste it, feel the breeze, rather than an air-conditioned box with a chandelier.
And actually, to that point, when we are filming charter videos, one of the most important part of the video is to show the toys. People want a yacht with lots of toys, lots and lots of toys, nice sized tenders, diving equipment, nice inflatable slide. So that's also a factor to remember.
The yacht is moving away from, as I was saying, the enclosed box with a chandelier to just a platform where you can have experiences. And experiential luxury is a much used, if not overused, phrase. But a yacht really these days is just a platform to be on, to go somewhere, so that when you're there, you can do really cool stuff, whether it's diving, whether it's taking a submarine, whether it's water skiing, whether it's jet skiing, whatever it might be. There's so much that you can experience on board a yacht, and people are really starting to embrace that, even to the extent when we talked about explorer yachts, getting involved in science and research and philanthropic projects. I think that's a really exciting and an area of yachting that is only going to get stronger and develop further.
Loads more questions coming in. Tim Evers, how do you see brokerage houses evolving? Oh, that's a good question. How do you see brokerage houses evolving towards the future? There seems to be quite some consolidation going on. Well, we know all about consolidation. How do you see things evolving in the brokerage world?
What I see and what I really welcome is an increasing level of professionalism. We don't yet have accreditation in Europe like they have in the US, but maybe that would be a good thing too. But an increasing level of professionalism is going to eventually see away the sharks. And they've been out there for years. They're still out there. There are plenty of brokers that are chancers who want to just try and sell one yacht, make a fast buck and move on. They give us all a bad name. Clients, buyers of this size vessels are very, very intelligent people, and they surround themselves with normally very, very intelligent advisors, whether it's their lawyer or their wealth manager. And I think a broker has got to be at that level. They should be at the board table of the client, sitting next to his lawyer, his chief financial officer, and able to conduct themselves in the same way, at the same level, with the same depth of knowledge, experience, and understanding. I'm very hesitant. We all want to nurture new people, but I'm very hesitant to take on new brokers who don't know what they're talking about. It's essential for me as a guardian of the Northrop & Johnson brand that when I put a broker at a table to talk to a client, he needs to know more than that client does. And clients are researching everything these days. They know everything about the engines, about the hulls, about the range, the efficiency. They ask very pointed questions because they actually know the answer already. And I've got to have representatives in my company who are a whole level above that in terms of their technical knowledge, their financial knowledge, their design and construction knowledge about yachts. And let's face it, these yachts are extremely complex machines. And it takes time and effort and deals to become experienced, to become knowledgeable. But I think in response to the question, I think we will see a gradual elimination of the chances and a growth of the companies that firstly have true professionals as the advisors within them, and secondly, which I didn't mention, but can offer a full suite of services.
Yeah.
So you're not getting your sales advice here and your charter advice here and
Yeah.
your crew advice here. Someone that really says, well, yachting is a 360-degree activity, and we can help you with all aspects, whether it's safety, security, technical, operating costs, refit, the whole gamut.
Thank you. I hope that was a satisfactory answer, Tim. Lamar B says, thanks very much. Love the channel. Thank you, Lamar. T. Prey, Thomas, I think. Could the shipyard, this is going back to the question about shipyards. Could the shipyard not claim a buyer's default if the assets or financial sources of the sanctioned buyer is frozen? Because, of course, the contract of most new build contracts are dependent upon payments being made. So is it not as simple as, if the payment's not made because the client's been sanctioned and probably can't even access his funds, it's a default and they can sell the boat to somebody else?
It's not as straightforward as that, and I'm hesitant to go into it in too much detail. That's why we have maritime lawyers who know far more about this than me. But there's breaking a contract, and then there's frustration of contract. If it's my duty to pay you money because you're building my yacht, and I have stage payments to make by certain dates, it's my duty to make those stage payments. But if I physically, legally cannot make those stage payments because the authorities in the European courts have told me that you may not receive my funds, what do we do then? If the bank won't deal with me or won't send funds to you, and you can't receive funds from them, it's far more complex than that.
Moving on, Miguel Kirjon, do you see more and more potential buyers being hesitant to buy traditional diesel technology, first and second vessels, and rather waiting for new energy and propulsion technology? Do you think people are holding off a little bit buying a yacht because they're waiting to see what new technology can come out?
What I see at the moment is there is a very, very strong interest in greener yachting, and it's a horrible phrase, but yachting that has less of a negative impact on the environment, for sure. The clients I speak to, they are very conscious of the impact they have. But in reality, what's on offer and what's pushed by a lot of shipyards is very standard, very traditional technology. And it can be dressed up as being the eco version or the green plus version or whatever. But let's face it, a diesel engine ship with a traditional drive system is 1920s technology, and we're in 2020s now. So what surprises me is that we have a lot of interest and yet a lot of sales in traditional technology. There are so many ways to have a lower impact, to have a lower carbon footprint in terms of yachting. It does come at a slightly higher cost. I think we have to be realistic about that, because when you're at the cutting edge of technology, I mean, I can't even believe we're talking about being at the cutting edge still, 20, 30 years after environmental issues have been raised. But we're clearly an industry that's somewhat slow to respond. But to be at that forefront of new technology, there is a cost. When you're an early adopter, you are effectively funding the research and development. You are paying for the breakdowns and the testing. But it's not. I don't mean to give a negative message. There's a lot of focus now in our industry on these environmental issues and how to reduce the impact. Because I think people realize if we don't do it, it's going to come through legislation anyway. We'll be told, we've seen in the Norwegian fjords, you cannot go in with the traditional diesel engine. So we better get on to this pretty quick, or we'll find people can't go places. It's happening.
Thank you very much. Hope that was a good answer for you, Miguel. Penelope says she likes the sound of a bus in Monaco. Actually, the buses are one of the best ways to get around in Monaco. They really are. And she may be here at the show in September. If you are, do come and find us and say hi, Penelope.
And they will soon all be electric.
I thought they already were.
Not
electric,
all of them.
no?
There's still some of the stock that's left, but they are transitioning the whole fleet to electric.
By the way, €2 to go anywhere in Monaco. €2, and you're on the bus and they go all over the place. T. Prey, a question to both of you. How are you evaluating the future influx of Chinese builders, especially if they're able to offer a considerable discount in comparison to established Western European builders? Chinese builders?
Well, there are some good boats that have come out of China. I think of Kingship straight away. We just haven't seen any great volume, have we? I mean, you probably know more of this than me because you've been looking into it, I know, in the past. China is renowned for taking a product, copying it, and then replicating it at a lower cost. And we've seen volume builders, is it Horizon?
Horizon.
Who are out there. But we've never yet seen them really be able to produce a very high quality finish super yacht. We've seen people try, and we've not yet seen anyone succeed.
Actually, they seem to have more of a strategy of buying a shipyard. We've seen Chinese have bought the Ferretti Group. It's still mostly Chinese owned. Sunseeker are now owned by China. So it seems to me that their strategy, rather than building the yachts themselves, is to buy a well-known brand.
Yeah,
and to
absolutely, yeah, with Sunseeker and Ferretti Group, yeah, for sure. What we have seen is other countries who didn't have the traditional yacht building experience, like Turkey. We've seen them come leaps and bounds forwards in terms of the product they're putting out and the quality of what they're turning out. Everyone's been raising their game. Everyone's watched. In fact, I think the improvements we've seen in Turkey have made Italy raise their game, which has then pushed Holland to raise their game even further. So it's great to see what's been happening in Turkey, but we haven't yet really seen much headway in China for whatever reason.
By the way, I'll be in Turkey next week filming Bearing Yachts New Marine. We're now the official distributors in Europe for New Marine yachts. So I'll be filming those. So those are all videos that will be out in the next couple of weeks.
I mean, New Marine are a case in point. And I know I might be biased because we're now representing the brand, but we're representing the brand for a reason, which is that historically people think of Turkish yacht building as a little bit sort of spit and sawdust and sellotape. If you go to the New Marine factory, it is like an operating theatre. The precision and the timing with which things arrive, they're labelled, they're put into the production line. The way the yachts are built is super impressive, and it's polar opposite from people's traditional thinking of Turkish yacht building. It's really a sight to behold.
Completely agree. Also, the Turquoise yard, we filmed at Turquoise. That was super impressive too.
I think Turquoise, Bearing, New Marine. There's a lot of great stuff going on in Turkey.
Aaron Lisiaga, apologies if I've mispronounced your name. Question: what are your thoughts concerning the introduction of hydrogen-powered vessels and the effects that will have on the super yacht industry?
Well, there's a big question as to what is the next big answer to power generation. Is it hydrogen? Hydrogen has got no real traction yet. It's still too early, I think. You did I think maybe not a series, but a vlog on Lursen and their project. It'd be great to see how that turns out and what the reality is in terms of operating constraints, risks. We'll learn a lot from that test bed. But whilst I think hydrogen is very interesting, holds a lot of promise, we're not seeing it. I'm not aware of any yards even close to implementing it on a grand scale. in anything smaller than the Lursen project.
I think San Lorenzo have announced they have a project for
Okay.
a hydrogen fuel cell. Remains to be seen when that happens. But even Lursen, whose first hydrogen fuel cell yacht will be launched, I think, in 2025.
Mhm.
But even then, it's going to be a standard propulsion, but also with hydrogen, because they just need to take baby steps to make sure it's all going to work properly before they completely use that technology.
Well, I mean, a yacht of that size, putting all your eggs in one basket
Yeah,
with
big mistake.
unproven technology,
Yeah.
like is unproven carefully, unproven in the yacht world. Like in a lot of cases with yachting, we often look to the commercial world to see what works, what doesn't work, what makes financial sense, what doesn't, what's proven to work over time. And I think a lot of the cues for power generation will come from the commercial world rather than from the yachting world.
Yeah, absolutely. And yachting will follow whatever works in commercial. Tim Evans. Oh, thanks, Tim. You've brought the subject back to something that we're really keen to discuss. And this is a great question. What keeps you going in preparation for such an extreme challenge as rowing around Scotland? Do tell about your preparation, Patrick.
Well, I can't remember if I mentioned it before, but we're a boat of 8 people. No, there are 10 of us. So 8 rowing positions and 10 of us on board. We're a single vessel. We're not accompanied by any other support crew. So it's 3 hours on, 3 hours off, 3 hours on, 3 hours off. And I'm the only member of the team, I think, who hasn't rowed either the Atlantic or the Indian Ocean or the Pacific. So it's going to be interesting. I've always said in many instances, I say I'm relatively fit and I'm good at doing what I'm told. So that's my approach to this, is I'm just going to get on board, get my head down, row as I have done for many, many hours on the ergo machine in the yacht club gym.
You booked in to the Four Seasons in Inverness, so at least you get a good night's sleep between rowing.
No. We can pull in and sleep on the beach in certain places. In many areas, the sheer cliff faces prevent us from doing so. But we will stop overnight sometimes on the beach, and there are certain areas where we just have to keep going and rowing
all the way through the night.
All the way through the night, yes. 3 hours on, 3 hours off, 3 hours of sleep, 3 hours rowing, 3 hours off. Yeah.
In Scotland.
In the pitch black of the North Sea.
Well, I was going to say, if you don't have any moonlights, if it's cloudy or whatever, it's
no. Well, we've got.
Are you scared? A little bit scared of that?
No, I can swim.
Yeah. And there's no sharks in Scotland.
Not that I'm aware
it's just
of.
Like
no.
Sub-zero temperatures.
No, a few people have said I'm completely mad, and my wife is worried that I won't ever come back. But no,
Well, if you don't turn the corner, then maybe you won't.
So I keep going. I'm in Norway. No, it's exciting. I'm looking forward to it. I've got people on board that know what they're doing.
What about sort of physical preparations? What are you doing to?
I've just been on the rowing machine for a good hour every day for the last 6 months.
Wow.
I've done, well over 10,000 meters every day. I'm going to be doing a lot more than that every day during the actual event. But it's a bit like running a marathon. You never run a marathon when you're training. You just do long distances, and eventually you build up
your muscles used to it. And actually, we had this conversation. But of course, when you're on the rowing machine, you're doing this motion.
Yeah.
What's the motion that you'll be doing in an 8-man rowing boat?
It's the same, actually.
Exactly.
It is the same, yes. It's slightly different because on a rowing machine, you're coming straight back. And on a rowing boat, you're coming with a slight curve.
Yeah, with an arch.
Yes, a slight arc. But it's not a sculling boat. It's not. We don't have 2 oars where you're.
No. And you're not rowing like.
And we're not.
Pocahontas.
No, we're not doing Pocahontas style. No. So it is a proper rowing boat.
Yeah.
A bit like Vikings.
Yes. Very good. Thanks for that. Oh, and actually, while we're on the subject, something very important to mention is this is not just about your challenging yourself physically and mentally, but there's also a really important result from this. So can you tell me about that?
Yes, well, I'm doing it in to raise donations for the Red Cross in Monaco, or the Croix Rouge, as we say in Monaco. They have an initiative called Action Ukraine, which is to support those who are affected by the war. And I actually live next door to the Red Cross building in Monaco, and I know the director of the outfit there, and they're doing amazing work. So we're trying to raise funds for their Action Ukraine project. They have a website which is Croix Rouge Monaco.
Actually, there's a link to that website in the description below this video. So it would be great if anybody, even just a small contribution,
Anything.
Anything. It all adds up, doesn't it?
Well, it helps to know when you're making the effort. It helps to know that people are supporting you, and it's not all in vain, and that we are raising some much needed funds for some very good work.
Yeah.
So I'd be delighted if anyone can contribute in any small way.
Great.
I'd be super grateful.
Thanks. Moving on, because we've probably got about 10 minutes left, and there's loads more questions coming in. Again, T-Prey, taking interest in a Western shipyard is the first step in technology transfer. Or we're talking about the Chinese buying shipyards. We've seen this in many parts of high-tech industries. So that's more an observation than a question. Very valid observation. Patrick Abbas. Patrick was here at the Monaco show last year. Another faithful viewer. He says, "Hi guys, I'm a bit late to the party, so to speak. Have to love bearing, having always been a huge fan of the open sports yachts too, Pershing and Mangusta. Time you buy one then, Patrick, I would say." Next Monaco boat show, we'll have to do that. Part 2, he says, "I've now become a fan of full electric, like Sunreef Eco Series. How do you see full electric, not diesel electric, but proper more electric diesel for super yachts?" I mean, Sunreef's one example. Silent Yachts is another example with their solar power. How do you see the future of that in yachting?
Well, we've seen that technology come on in leaps and bounds recently. When I was at Blom & Voss, I did a study on a new build project. It was 112 meters, and the owner was a very kind of cool design, very hard-edged, futuristic style boat, and the client that was developing the project said, "I want to cover every deck and superstructure surface with solar panels." And we said, okay, well, we'll do a study to see what, and this was back in 2015, maybe 2015, 2016. So only 6 years ago. And we worked out that if we covered this entire 112 meter yacht with solar panels, we could basically generate in a 24-hour period, on average, enough to run the air conditioning for about 20 minutes. It was totally insignificant in terms of a proportion of the total power usage on board on any given day. There's such a huge drain, particularly with the air conditioning systems, let alone when you start moving the vessel through the water. And we talked about whether we could do it would be a nice PR story to say, well, let's have all of the LED night lights powered by the sun. We all agreed it was kind of a nice story, but it was totally useless in reality. And now we come on 6 years, and the panel technology and the transformer technology has developed so much. We see panels being placed everywhere. I know Silent Yachts have now said that they have developed to the extent where you have unlimited range. I mean, as long as I don't know the details of it yet. I guess it's as long as there's sun, but that I don't guess you wouldn't call it perpetual motion, but you can just keep going forever. As long as there's sun, it drives the engines and off you go.
That's right,
because for years we've been saying, well, if you've got full batteries, you can do 4 hours underway. Well, okay, great. And that was just in the last couple of years that shipyards have been promoting this idea of doing a few hours on battery power alone. And now that's seemingly blown out of the water if what Silent Yachts says is indeed correct.
I mean, certainly they're having a lot of success. I mean, a lot of. They've really found a niche in the market that resonates with people who want to be able to have solar power. And sometimes you get a lot of criticisms. Oh, it only does so many knots, or oh, what if the sun goes in? But I think that every new product they come out with just pushes things along a little bit more. And doubtless in 10 years' time, they'll have better batteries, do better speed. But unless they keep doing the work now, then we'll never get that progress.
And there's a shift in client thinking as well. It used to be, let's say 30 years ago, my boat can go faster than your boat.
Yes.
I've got bigger engines than you've got. I can get to Saint Tropez quicker than you can. And I've sat in meetings recently with clients where they're talking about the efficiency of their vessel, the efficiency of their hull design, the range, the lack of fuel that they need to carry. And there's a whole shift in the conversation going a different way.
Quickly, another question, because it's another rowing-based question. I've lost it. Oh, yeah. Tim Evers asks, how did you actually join the rowing team? Did you already know the other athletes?
No.
Before?
So the company I mentioned before, Rannoch Adventures, they have a division called Roxy Expeditions, and they organize various expeditions, trans-Pacific, transatlantic, circumnavigation of Scotland, as well as a few others. And you just have to apply. You'll find them online quite easily. You have to apply. They give you an interview to understand about not just your medical history, but a bit about who you are and your motivation and your suitability for joining the expedition. And then if they accept, you get a place. I was offered a place on this particular one, and
Excellent.
And I go on Sunday.
Wow. Now, I'll do one more question before we close. But before I do that, I must say a special thank you to Slava, because Slava, for those of you who watch the channel often, will probably know he's the guy that makes the magic work. He's the guy with the camera and the editing skills. And he's worked for hours today setting up the camera for this live stream, only for me to do something wrong. So we're actually using the camera on the computer, and we've got our microphones attached, but I think we're actually using the microphones from the computer as well. So sorry about that, Slava. Next time I'll get it right. And he has to get the train back to Nice this evening as well. So he's stayed on extra. The lighting works though. And also you'll see this developing in future weeks. We're developing a new studio here in the office in Monaco too, so that's good. Let's do one more question. Yeah, this is a meaty question, but it's a good one. Marcus Wunsch says, do you see an added risk for new build customers with the shipyards going bankrupt because of the rising costs, and hence they could be left with a half-finished yacht?
Before you ever embark on a new build project or place an order with a yard, you have to be very confident of their financial strength. Now, that may come through, if you're buying a Sunseeker, you have the confidence that you know who the parent company is, and you've seen them put out yachts decade after decade, and you're given a level of reassurance. With some yachts, you want a first charge on ownership of the shipyard if there's any problems with your boat, or a bank guarantee for the full value of your vessel. I mean, there's lots of different ways to structure that financial reassurance. But you're absolutely right. Before you sign on the dotted line and hand over the first stage payment of $1 million, you need to be sure that you're going to get something back at the end of it. We've seen yards going bust. We've seen yacht buyers ending up owning a shipyard, which was never their intention, never what they set out to do. We've seen yachts under construction, half built, where the yard goes bust and the buyer effectively has to just tow this half finished hull and try and finish it somewhere else at his expense. It can get messy. So So a good yacht broker is
No, it's true.
is certainly worth the weight in gold
Yeah.
in terms of the financial advice to ensure you've got the financial securities and safeguards in place so that you don't end up owning a shipyard and you don't end up losing the boat from underneath you.
Excellent. Well, Patrick, thank you so much. That's been absolutely brilliant. We should do this more often. We
Yeah,
should do this
pleasure.
once a week.
I've
at
told you
least, I
everything
think.
now. There's nothing more I
there's
can say.
Nothing left to say. Well, wish you all the best with the rowing around Scotland. And once again, the description, the link to the Red Cross, the Croix Rouge
Yep.
website is in the description below. And thanks for tuning in. And thank you very much indeed, Patrick.
Thank you, David, and thanks to you all.